Last time on Deep Space Nine.
This is the emblem of the Alliance for Global Unity. They call themselves the Circle.
What gives them the right to mess up our station?
They're an extremist faction who believe in Bajor for the Bajorans.
I can't loan you a Starfleet runabout without knowing where you plan on taking it.
To Cardassia 4 to rescue a Bajoran prisoner of war.
Come on, we have a ship waiting.
What if I told you that I knew someone who could bring stability to Bajor? Someone who could unite the factions and give us a chance to do our job. But Bajor doesn't need a man. He needs a symbol. And that's what you are.
The Navarre needed to return here to assume his new post. He's been made the Bajoran liaison officer to Deep Space Nine.
I already have a liaison officer.
Not anymore, you don't. Major Kira's no longer assigned to this post. She's been recalled to Bajor.
It's over. Everything. Bajor, the provisional government, the Federation being here, all of it. We gotta leave.
The provisional government will stand only if the military supports it.
We are all patriots, Commander. I am the Circle, Major.
How can you betray your own government?
The Circle's being supplied by the Cardassians.
What?
I borrowed the proof. It's got a gull's thumb scan on it.
The Circle hates the Cardassians.
They don't know it is the Cardassians. They think they've been buying from Krasari traders. Think of the prestige of having the new leader of Bajor being a member of your order.
If you are the new leader.
Commander, 2 assault vessels are headed this way on direct course from Bajor. They've given all non-Bajorans 7 hours to evacuate.
And now the conclusion.
So there's a lot of back and forthing. There's stuff happening on Bajor where, of course, the intrigue with Jaro. I'm going to just rush through the end here where Jaro is and Wynn are found out. And,
right. But they really pulled back so quick. I mean, Kai Wynn, she cut bait, but Jaro... It was one, I don't know that he truly knew that the weapons were coming from the Cardassians.
I wondered about that because, and by the way, we didn't mention that, but yeah, the actual weapons for this insurgents for the Circle were coming from Cardassians, not from the Krasari.
They were being funneled through
the
someone
Krasari,
else.
yeah.
The Krasari.
Who's Krasari now, huh?
So once he figured that out, obviously realized that the easy path to leadership was closing. He wanted to salvage himself.
And like a true politician, what's he say? I support this investigation.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's maintaining the plausible deniability, and because nothing has his name on it.
Right. And
so,
I mean, although, it's like it does Kira did get tortured by basically this dude, not in person by him, but so anyway, we'll see what happens. But I don't know if you ever hear from Jaro again in the series, but which is a pity because he was an interesting character. But so then back on DS9,
so they're hiding out, and one of the true benefits of this Cardassian vessel, the Deep Space Nine, is there's a lot of places to hide. There's a lot of places that are insulated, a lot of places that are hard to scan. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the technical engineering genius that is Miles was able to get rid of the Quark's jacket that he was wearing in the first episode. And yes, the sleeves are like just past his elbow. I mean, that had to have been Quark's, or it was House of Garrick for sure.
Well, true. And just by the way, just so everybody knows, if you look at the costumes carefully, look at the costumes from Star Trek Generations, Riker is wearing Avery Brooks's, Commander Sisko's, is wearing his costume.
Oh, wow.
And that's why his sleeves are rolled up in a funny way. It doesn't fit right. If you look at it carefully, they're so cheap. Mm-hmm. Paramount, it blows me away. Major motion picture, major And what do they do? They're like, go get off that hanger in there. That's Avery's costume. He won't mind. Go ahead. Just roll up the sleeves. Anyway, but yeah, I think you're totally right. I think Miles is wearing one of Quark's cast-offs.
Yeah. So anyway, but he is an engineering genius. So he's messing with all of the sensors, communicate. Everything's really kind of out of control. So they're able to successfully hide, get some prisoners in a docking bay, able to really protect themselves until they get the right moment, right. When they reveal themselves again to the general, or is he colonel?
Well, Colonel Day is the one. There's the General Krim, and then there's Colonel Day. So Stephen
General
Weber is
Krim.
Yeah.
So they reveal the truth first to Colonel Day, and you can tell in fairly short order he's an opportunist.
He ain't having it. Yeah.
Right. And then they do are forced to do the same to the general, but he buys it. He understands the truth is the truth. He takes them at their word with the proof. That really stops the siege of Deep Space Nine. And I think the realization that he had inadvertently joined the Circle and a resistance arm, I think the realization of the impact of that on his life and career comes to him in an instant, and he then knows, he's going back to Bajor to resign because it's kind of over. It's over
for him. And then, of course, what happens is, though, they're kind of wrapping it up. Everybody's backslapping. It's a good thing. We're going to arrest Krim's going to go away. Colonel Day, you're going to go too, and you're kind of an ass. And he's like, no. And, of course, he whips out his Bajoran blaster, and Miles says, no, stop, and Lee Nallis sees it, jumps in the way, and takes the blast that was meant for Sisko. And Lee Nallis, his dying words are, I guess I'm off the hook. So
now he is a hero.
He is a hero. He can rest easy. So he dies. Deep Space Nine is saved. Bajor is relieved of some pretty shady characters for the moment, except for Kai Wynn, who will reappear like a phoenix with the Sydney Opera House on her head. And but so that's it. And I know, like, folks, again, we're working on this. We're working on our structure. It's hard to not go through some plot points, but we hope that trying to not rush through, but get through 3 episodes, plot points at once, and cover some salient things that we can get there. So, okay, so now this is the part of the show, once we've kind of gotten through the exposition, a little bit of the synopsis, where we're going to just talk about themes and what's going on. But first, I got to ask, what's the Tranya tonight, buddy?
Well, the Tranya's gone. It was a nice Glenfiddich 14 year.
Fancy.
A little splash of water.
Dang. I'm almost
I
embarrassed.
had to celebrate the beginning of a new season.
I should have gotten I'm boring. I had myself a nice vodka martini up with a twist of lemon. It's a lovely, it's Stoli. I haven't drank Stoli in a while. I did some cheaping out recently. I went to when I was at the store, and I got like some of the cheaper vodkas, and lighter fluid is sold as vodka. So I decided Stoli is still a good vodka, and
it is. It's
not Russian really. So my boycott of all things Russia technically does not count. So I'm drinking that. So cheers, my friend. I'm glad you enjoyed your Tranya. So
I did.
We're talking about 3 episodes now. Let me just kind of can I just kind of go with my Cliff's notes here of things that struck me? And I already hit you with the Bibi Netanyahu comparison, with Frank Langella. Excuse me, gracious. But I will say, let me just say this about casting. So when you have people like Richard Weber, Frank Langella, Louise Fletcher, this is the second year, the second season, first episodes of this syndicated science fiction show, and look who they're attracting. Look at the prestige casting we're getting here.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Now, put yourself where Star Trek: The Next Generation was in season 2. kind of a laughing stock when the first season was bad.
Right.
Don't even with me. Don't at me, people, because you're wrong. It was bad. But
a little later, you had a few cameos pop in, but they were pretty much
season 1 of TNG? Who did we get?
Oh, not season 1.
No. I wasn't
later.
saying the whole series. I'm just saying
season
the
1.
first season of TNG was bad. It's bad.
Right.
It's bad. And season 1 of DS9 was not great, but it did have some prestige value. There were some things going for it. But you think about now. Also, by the way, the one reason that DS9 season 2 might have been a desirable place for a marquee name to go was because it had technically 7 years of TNG, most of which were damn good behind it.
Sure,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
To be fair, I'm just saying, though, if you're just going to go apples to apples, DS9 was doing really well. So
sure.
I applaud and appreciate Michael Piller in particular saying we're going to move to our strengths, which is we're on an outpost. We are not, right there in the Federation's pocket all the time. We're kind of isolated. Our people have to live by their wits in a lot of ways that, that maybe TNG didn't always have to, although TNG was technically out on a 5-year mission. But I thought that was good. And I thought that they had a damn good cast. I still think that Avery Brooks... best is yet to come with him, and I don't mean that as just a pun for season 7, but people know what I'm talking about if you've seen season 7 when I say Avery Brooks' best is yet to come, and baby won't it be fine. But I'm just saying that until the man loses the hair on top and grows it on his chin, he's restrained. But anyway, these three, I think, were a tour de force for Nana Visitor. I think that these 3 episodes, these 3 hours starting off season 2 were a showcase for the talented Ms. Visitor and Major Kira, who I fell in love with all over again with Duet. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to Apple Podcasts and look for the episode on Duet that we did. I'm just in love. I'll admit there's times when I didn't fully get Nana Visitor. I didn't fully get what she was trying to do with stuff, and maybe I was immature, and that's probably most of it. But now I'm at an age where I can truly appreciate the performance, and where, joking aside and all that, she's a damn attractive woman in so many ways, but just the performance. So when you look at how she managed through these 3, and she's taking Kira through this spiritual journey, it fascinated me. So which leads me to my other point, which is DS9 flipped the Roddenberry anti-religion thing on its ear. I mean, Roddenberry did not believe in religion at all, and he didn't want it in his Trek. But I think the creators and writers of DS9 found a way to bring religiosity into the conversation in a way that totally works with Roddenberry's dictum because we're talking about a culture that Deep Space Nine is immersed in, and their gods, the prophets, the wormhole aliens, are the cornerstone of that. So, we were joking about Kira kind of being held up by her altar, not by the orb, but by her altar with her arms up. That does look really uncomfortable. We all sacrifice for our faith. I found that an interesting direction that signaled where the series was going. I think the problems I had with these 3, and by the way, I'm just going through my notes, and then we'll hit yours there, and you can just go, we can go back and forth here. I think Lee Nollis was a great idea that just lasted for about 3/4 of the first episode, and then the other 2, he might as well have been just some extra wearing the purple booties.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was so much that could have been uncovered there had he kept whatever that liaison role was, Navark. I think they could have done a lot more with it, and I just wanted so I'll start with that and then jump in on Nana Kira, and there's so much, just such a wide range that I saw from episode one where she's in certain ways she's back to that young rebel who's trying to free people from prison camps.
Yep.
To episode 2 where she's pulled right back to current day reality where she's trying to come to terms with that and learn what's the next Kira is in this new post-war Bajor.
Right.
And then she's pulled right back where she's now trying to, make an old vessel fly and doing, quick maneuvering in a 10-year-old,
Weren't those scenes with
a mothballed vessel against a much greater firepower.
Her scenes, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to say that her scenes with Dax, which we really didn't illuminate, going to the moon with the giant spiders, and
yeah,
that just sounds like something out of like Galaxy Quest. The moon with the giant spiders, but they go to the moon with the giant spiders, and those scenes were so wonderful. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Those were fun. But it just covered a full range of. It almost encapsulated her life in 3 episodes.
Very true.
But covered that full range of emotions from the cause of PTSD, recovering from PTSD, and then re-experiencing it again. It's this bitter cycle that was uncovered, and I think it was acted very well in how she covered it.
And I want to put a pin on the PTSD thing for later on another episode, and we'll get into this more. And there are episodes ahead where we're going to get into that, particularly with Let's Torture Miles O'Brien episodes, which are going to happen throughout the series. In fact, we're getting very close to one. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And by the way, if you're not following Nana on Twitter, she's at Nana, Nana Visitor, and she's a sweetheart. And she just tweeted recently, as of this recording, about being on the Star Trek cruise and how much fun she had. And she has kind of a fear of boats, but she had fun with it. And, dude, by the way, I've met Nana at a convention back in the day, believe it or not, back in like the late 90s. Of course, she wouldn't remember me, and that's silly, but I remember her, and I remember what a ball of fire she is.
Yeah.
Her energy. So I would love to see that, but I appreciate what you're saying. Kira, by the way, is a conversation we're going to have for the next 6 seasons here of this. But do you think Lee Nollis was a missed opportunity? And I'll preface this with, I realize that you are, just to remind folks, if you don't know our format, Brian's the dude who loves Trek but has not really seen DS9. He's seen it here and there, but he was not immersed in it like I was.
Right.
I'm Alex, and I'm immersed in Trek. Hi, Alex. Okay, yeah, it's like a meeting, but so I don't want to be unfair to you and like expect you to understand what I'm saying when I say things are going to change moving forward. But do you see from your perspective, your perch as kind of a noob, and I don't mean that, you know what I mean by that?
Sure.
Do you see that as like, okay, well, Lee Nollis seems like a logical guy they should have kept alive so that he could be like...
he could have been a galvanizing character for the Bajoran people. He could be that. I think every country will come up with some sort of post-war hero, and the legends will grow larger than the person's actual life, but they use it as a rallying cry during times of need, and will use them as and the history books will create myths around those types of people. And so to have him just die as the myth, as opposed to, I think it would have been far more interesting for him to have to live as the myth. It would have been an interesting plot line. I'll just leave it.
Can I just ask you though, okay, flip it over just for the show though. For the sake of the show. Do you think that we needed somebody on Bajor or let's say Kira comes back, and she's coming back obviously to do we need Lee Nollis to go back and like be a leader on Bajor that she can interact with as things progress, or is that important at all?
I would think something like that would be helpful. Absolutely.
But we're not going to get that.
But we won't get that from him, at least.
So you have seen a few, so you know there's going to be somebody else.
I mean, there's people like that.
Shakar.
Yeah, right.
The impossibly attractive Shakar is coming in a few seasons. And Vedic Barile is still there.
Vedic Barile, yeah. Right, which... I mean, once you get past that, creepy close talky thing, I think
he's the Judge Reinhold of Bajorans.
His intentions seem to be pure.
I call him Vedic Puerile only because there's a creepiness to him. There's like a vacancy sometimes to him. The actor Philip Anglim, he originated the role of John Merrick, the Elephant Man, on Broadway. He's a very good actor. I don't mean, and by the way, I can be sharp sometimes, but I certainly. I don't mean it personally. A lot of it's writing, and a lot of it's the direction that the directors and producers want to go. I don't think Barile was handled real well, and we will have proof of that as we go forward. Okay, so the other thing. So let's look at this. Let's step back. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing here is the first 3 episodes of the season knocked out here on this episode. So final thoughts on that. We're looking at it, and I'm just trying to think, well, where was I when this was over? I'm like, okay, I like Kira a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that Sisko is a by-the-book guy who occasionally understands expediency, though.
Right.
I like that Bashir and Miles are ready to step out of their roles. Dax, by the way, pretty blank slate on these 3, in my opinion. I wasn't real engaged with her, and she didn't have a lot to do other than the scenes in the ship with Kira.
Exactly. There was some kind of friendship building I found pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was about it.
Okay, so all right, so we see a little bit of Quark and Rom, but not a lot. We see if you're ready, and because we're running a little long in the tooth here. How much latinum? And by the way, if you're new to the pod, we assign bars of latinum for each episode. Is it between 1 and 4 or 1 and 5?
1 and 5.
1 and 5 bars.
5.
So I'm going to throw it right in your lap, Brian. How many bars?
I'll put it right in.
All 3. This is all 3.
You have the weight. You have the value, the weight of 3 episodes telling a story. So that gives you, I think that to me increases the value a bit. But I thought it was a solid 3-bar episode arc. I thought it was good. I thought it advanced the characters. I thought there were a few little things dangling out there that were, even that story, just the first episode where the rule of acquisition 76, I believe.
76, my friend.
Was dangled out there, and that is exactly what the Cardassians were doing.
Yep.
And that was never readdressed anywhere.
I know.
Else. So that was kind of left out there.
There was tons of dangling.
So you're and maybe later on it'll get answered to some degree. But what was in it for the Cardassians other than maybe it will get Starfleet away from the space station? Maybe it would cause more unrest and civil war and in Bajor, but you're just kind of left to guess a little bit. So that took a bit away from me, from my rating. But otherwise, I thought it was a strong episode, a good solid 3 bars. How about you?
I'm gonna go with 3 bars, 5 strips of latinum. So that's 3.5, and I'll tell you why. Okay. I'm gonna give it 2.5 strips for the Paluku, the big spiders on the moon there that they eat.
Okay.
Just the way it skittered away, and Dax's comments about it, that alone, and then the other half of the 0.5 goes to just. Okay, I had to do it. I'm a sexist pig. Just seeing Kira and Barile naked in the Vision.
Yeah.
I thought that was hot. I did, and maybe
I
that should.
saw the she was wearing one of those little cup things. Yeah,
Did
you could see the edge of it. Yeah,
I didn't see. Well, see, I was getting ready to go. And by the way, folks, we're going to keep going with, but not only going to have the review thing, the Deep Sex 9, and I was getting ready to go. And by the way, that goes right into my Deep Sex 9, which was hot. So you saw her little crop top, the flesh-colored crop top? I didn't see it.
Yeah, she had something going on there.
Okay, I did some reading, and like they filmed like a very passionate make-out session with those two while they're naked, which they didn't use because they realized we don't want to give... Oh, I just gave the game away, but we don't want to give the game away that these two are very, very, very hot for each other. Interesting. So my Deep Sex 9 was Kira... By the way, sorry, if you're new to the pod, go listen to the first season. But if you're new to the pod, Deep Sex 9 is like, what are the hot, sexy things that go on here?
And it doesn't have to be overtly...
No.
Just from the very beginning of the first episode, made up the freighter captain.
The Boslick freighter captain?
Yeah.
What about her?
She had it going on as well.
Yeah, but you got halfway there, and I thought you were going to be like completely a good guy and go like, Deep Sex 9 part of this show does not have to be about something that's overtly sexual. But then you go right into
the tight leather pants helps. Sorry,
but sometimes Deep Sex 9 can just be
sensual,
not
sexual,
but deep sex. Listeners, if you're like Brian and you have not seen all the way to the end. I'm trying not to shade too much, but I thought it was so sweet the way, everybody came to Kira's. Okay, let's go back to that scene in Kira's in the episode 2, The Circle, when they're all in Kira's cabin and they're all. Dax comes in and is like, she's pissed, like, you're not going to fight this. And then Julian comes in and he's just trying to be like, I'm just being a colleague and thank you very much. Even though those two actors, by the way, were getting pretty hot and heavy at this point and getting ready to make a baby together. But then Miles comes in and he's completely just major. It's been an honor, and of course Odo's already in there, and Odo's like mad,
right?
Kira, how could you do it? And all these things, and it's like, and then Quark comes in with a bottle of some Chanya or some shiz. If you go back and if you know how the series ends, go back and rewatch that scene. I'd love to know what you think. Hit us on the Twitter. Catch us at the end of the episode. We'll tell you how to find us. Catch us on the Facebook. Go look, and I want you to think about how each character interacts with Kira in that scene. Mm-hmm. Knowing, especially if you know how the series ends. And if you don't know how the series ends, I'd love to know what you think too. Go to our Facebook, which is facebook.com/audio Hoo-Mons, and post what you think under the show note or the show listing for this episode. I'd love to hear what you think of that scene in particular, because that's by the way, that's the big Bajoran question of the week. Where do you think each character is going to go based on that scene for the rest of the series? And that will be posted right here with the show on Facebook page. And of course, we're on Twitter too. Okay. Anything else, my friend, before we wrap this one up?
No, we ran a little longer than anticipated, but we did have 3 episodes. Yeah. So we'll have some grace. And no, I think it's it was a great way to start the season. I was very pleased with picking it back up and of course enjoying spending some time with my friend.
And who would that be? Oh, me!
Oh, you!
No, yes, I've enjoyed it too. I've enjoyed it too. So I'll tell you what. Next week we'll be back on Thursday, because if it's Thursday, the wormhole's opening, and we're going to be getting involved in a little bit of some invasive procedures.
Interesting.
We'll see you next time, and as we always say,
the docking ring is closed. Subspace radio is a tricky thing out here in deep space.
Which is why we hope you'll stay up to date on Facebook at facebook.com/audio Hoo-Mons, spelled AUDIOOOMOX.
That's a lot of O's. It's a big O.
We
put the O in Hoo-Mons.
I made my O face when I did it too.
We also like to tweet and hope you'll follow us at Hoo-Mons Podcast. Once again, Hoo-Mons. Hoo-Mons is spelled O-O-M-O-X.
And please keep in mind, we want to interact with you and hear your comments, likes, dislikes.
Dislikes? Seriously? Who could dislike?
Well, there was that Nausicaan on a Noxon 09.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good point. Yes, folks, please let us know how we're doing. And you know the best way to do that.
Send Latinum!
Yes, please. Close. Absolutely send Latinum. We do accept financial contributions. Just follow the link in the show notes. What I was going to say was review us on iTunes. Your starred review helps us in the quest to get Bajor admitted to the Federation.
Brian, wait. I'm sorry, man. I don't think that's how it works.
Whatever. Just give us a review. You know, I think Alex and I can both agree it'll help other Niners find the show.
You bet your jumja stick it does.
That just sounds nasty.
You should really reserve judgment until you try one.
Fine. Well, we better go before the wormhole closes.
Now that sounds nasty.